What is that coming over the cardboard box? Is it a monster? No, it's just PSR. So we're all pretty worried about PSR, right? It's one of the main things now in football that you worry about. Can my club spend money? And Aston Villa at the moment don't really appear like we have a massive kitty, as Joe Willer would say, to dip our hands into and pick some players out to improve our squad. Now, yes, we have signed Donyell Malen this transfer window. It would appear that we are also going to be signing a young right back from the Spanish League. Videos up in that corner of the video. Yeah, probably. Go and have a look. Click on them. You know, it helps me out. Share them around. But our net spend is still going to be negative, right? Because we have sold Jadon Philogene-Badace to Ipswich. We've sold Diego Carlos allegedly to Fenerbahce. So overall, we're not really spending money still, and one would ponder whether that is to do with PSR. Now, one of the ways around PSR that a lot of the clubs in the Premier League have been doing is just simply, and whether you agree with it or not, is to sell your homegrown talent, because they count as pure profit, which means it's like 4 times better off for the club and the books than selling a player that you've already bought in, because you're not having to balance it out with the transfer fee you've paid. So perhaps at Villa we need to look towards one of our own. Now, before we get into why I believe that Jacob Ramsey could be on the chopping block for Villa in the summer, given his performances this season and the fact that we're, just the trajectory that the club is going into, I would implore you to see how many subscribers we are away from 3,000 when I edit this video, which could be anywhere between 30, or we've hit it. And if we have hit it, let's just do more. If we haven't hit it, then help me hit it, Villa Legends. Like the video, subscribe, notifications on, which is probably over there on the screen somewhere, and share it around to all your Aston Villa friends and family. But let's talk Jacob Ramsey and why PSR, not even PSR, but a sale could just be really good for the club. And here he is. We thought he would be our next golden boy. We thought he was the second coming of Jack Grealish. We thought he would be the one to drive us forward into those Champions League spots, and it hasn't quite worked out for Jacob Ramsey. Now 23 years of age, primarily plays as a left midfielder or left winger, despite, in my opinion, not really being quick enough to do it in the Premier League. He's played 141 times for Aston Villa, scoring 14 goals after an initial impressive loan at Doncaster Rovers in 2020, when he's then began to burst onto the scene this season, again struggling with injuries that we are going to touch on a little bit later on in the video. 14 games, 9 starts, only 2 assists, is yet to score a goal in the Premier League despite having many golden opportunities this season. If we scroll down, you'll see that the picture isn't a pretty one when you look into his stats. Again, no goals this season, only 3 shots on target from 12 shots in total, 2 assists, still puts him in the bottom 50th percentile, is completing a decent amount of his passes, but only created 9 chances for his teammates in 14 games. For a Premier League winger at a club that is pushing for top 4, not the type of stats that you want to be seeing. Only 4 accurate long balls as well this season. His dribble success rate actually not too bad, but I would add a caveat to his dribble success rate in that most of his dribbles, unfortunately, are him taking 2 steps forward, turning back, taking 2 steps backwards, maybe even 3 sometimes if you're lucky, if he's doing the cha-cha-cha, and just passing it into one of our defenders. And that is probably why that's so high as well, and that is so low. 17 successful dribbles as well this season. Tackle success rate okay, duel success rate pretty good, aerial duels 1 okay as well. Only been dribbled past 3 times, picking up the 1 yellow card. Now, you go back to last season in the Premier League, again a season that, fantastic season for Villa, right? Finished 4th. Jacob Ramsey, only a goal, only an assist. Dribble success rate nowhere near as good that season. Again, wins a lot of his aerial duels, fantastic, he's a big bloke. But again, this was a season blighted by injury. He barely played that season. In fact, if we go up here, season by season, last year, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen, only 21 games. Now, what we want to do is go back to that 2022 season, right? Because this is the Jacob Ramsey that got us all excited. This is the Jacob Ramsey where we thought, hang on, we've got a player on our hands. 6 goals, 7 assists. Created 42 chances for his teammates in just I mean, how many games was it in this season? It was 40 games. And that's overall balance. This is just Premier League here. 42 chances created. Again, the 6 goals, the 7 assists, 32 successful dribbles. Fantastic. Touches in opposition box through the absolute roof. That was the Jacob Ramsey that we all got excited about. That's the Jacob Ramsey that if you'd have asked me in 2023, would you sell him? I'd be like, hell no. But now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, if the price is right, hell yeah, but why? Well, it all starts with a sad trip away for the England under-21s. So as you can see on screen, we have Jacob Ramsey's injury history up on the Transfer Marked. Fantastic website, to be fair. And we go back, right? He got a little injury, hamstring injury in the 2022-2023 season, November to January, missed 47 days, but only 4 games with that one, just due to it being the Christmas period, etc. Hamstring injuries happen in football. They're becoming a lot more common due to the load that players are carrying at the moment, as well as the pace of the game just constantly getting higher and higher, right? But where it all went wrong was the England under-21. I think it was the Euros for them, actually. Jacob Ramsey was at the top of his game at that point, playing absolutely fantastically. And then that happened. The metatarsal fracture happened in July. Didn't come back until September the 20th. Remember that date. We're going to be going through it. You can see it all on the screen. Anyway, missed 81 days of action, including 9 games for Villa and England, respectively. Now, that injury alone can be quite a big one. It's the one that Pau Torres is currently out with. It's one that is very, very easily redoable. But, again, sometimes players can just come out the other side of it, and they're absolutely fine. Now, unfortunately for Jacob Ramsey, as you can see on the screen, September the 20th, 2023, he came back. And what's that, 2 or 3 weeks later? It says foot injury. It was a reoccurrence of the metatarsal fracture. That kept him out for a further 52 days. He came back in November, and then in January, so 2 months later, had a reoccurrence of his hamstring injury. There was actually a suggestion as well in one of these, I think it might have actually been this one. Again, the toe injury is another thing linked to the metatarsal. 120 games, missed 17 games. I think he came back at one point and then literally in training done it again. It's just one of those injuries. It's going to keep on coming back and back and back. And I mean, you see here, he went from having 47 days. I mean, the 2023-2024 season, he was injured for 270 days. That's 2/3 of a calendar year. And he just hasn't looked the same player since. If we think about the stats that we just went through, he was so direct. He would run at people. He would take them on. Now all he wants to do is turn around and pass the ball back. He's afraid to beat a man. And he's just lost a spark. So it begs the question. We know Jacob Ramsey's potential. We know the player that he can be. He has not been that player since the injury. Will he get back there? Or, again, Newcastle at one point were interested in him for about 40 million, I think it was. There's going to be interest in him. He's a 23, 24-year-old English player who is getting regular caps in the Premier League, right? They're like gold dust, and that English tax hits different. You know it hits different. I'm just thinking in the summer, considering now as well, again, another reason why this transfer now all of a sudden seems more feasible is a certain Morgan Rogers factor, who you'd imagine is going to be holding down that left wing spot for a long time for Villa. I don't foresee him long term in that number 10, considering how good Yuri Tielemans has been playing and will probably continue to play for the next 2 to 3 seasons. Then if you're not playing Rodgers there, you have the captain, John McGinn, regularly gets game time at that left mid position. I probably wouldn't be surprised if we started to see Ian Maatsen pushed further up the pitch, because offensively he looks very, very effective. Defensively, perhaps not so much. 40 million, 45 million, pure profit. PSR allows us to reinvest in areas where we really need it. I mean, I think the way to look at it for me would be like this. If Ramsey goes and it allowed us to sign Jermaine Frimpong, would you complain?